I'm Adam JD Martin, your host, and today I'm here with Zack from Brittain Real Estate. We're going to be talking about Waterloo region.
We're going to talk selling in what is not a seller's market anymore. And then we'll go over the types of deals that I'm personally looking at for clients. But right here in the 2,500 square feet or more, you are $330 bucks a square foot just to purchase, right? Well, that has experienced the least decrease year over year, whereas your 1,500 square feet or less, that's down 6.3% in the last year. You buyers out there, you homeowners out there, if you're in a position to make an upsize that makes sense for you, that's what you want to do, or you're an investor and you're thinking, man, maybe I could pick up a larger home and flip it or chop it up into a legal fourplex. There's incredible value for larger square footage homes that don't have a lot of buyers knocking on the door.
Welcome back to the Canadian Real Estate Channel. I'm Adam JD Martin, your host, and today I'm here with Zack from Brittain Real Estate. We're going to be talking about Waterloo region. We're going to dive deep into some market segments, cut through a bunch of the noise that you guys might be hearing, talk about the actual market conditions. Are we in a seller market or not? And we're going to then talk about what would be some of your best opportunities for investing now if you wanted to get started in Waterloo region. Zack, good morning.
Morning, guys. I'm fired up with my second double espresso Americano of the day. I've started a new unofficial irregular segment on my Instagram page as well, rating the worst. And this is really important real estate information, ladies and gentlemen. Rating the worst parking lots in Waterloo region. And I got some great responses on this. I got some good ones. So for you locals out there, I think I got the worst one first try though. So Vincenzo's parking lot behind Bauer Lofts and Bauer Kitchen in Uptown Waterloo.
Yeah.
10 out of 10, worst one in the game. But the sandwich coffee deal at lunch is just so good. You can get a fresh, delicious sandwich and a double Americano for less than 16 bucks after taxes there. So I just illegally park on one of the side streets and pray to God I don't get another parking ticket from the city of Waterloo and just rush in and rush out because I'm not pulling into that parking lot in that driveway. But we're also going to be sharing a little bit more info in the coming weeks on our investor hot list on our 10-unit development that we're doing. We have another infill project ready to go for anybody that is looking to purchase and build something of their own. I'm going to be sending those and some of the stats out right after we record this video, though. So if those of you that are watching this video and aren't already on our investor hot list, phipsbrittonrealestate.com, select the investor tab, or send me an email directly, the Zack at phipsbrittain.com. All of our contact info is on the bottom of every email or of every YouTube video, guys. This is our weekly segment where we send out any on-market or any off-market deals. We're also going to be sharing information on any events that we're going to be hosting. And I'll actually remind myself right now, event notice, ADUs. We are partnered with King Street Construction here in Waterloo region in Wellington County. I think they are going to build, at the end of this year, it would have been 8 to 10 that they've built just this year for a lot of our clients and a lot of our referrals. These are people that are building them for grandma and grandpa in the backyard. They're finishing a duplex, a 2-unit main floor, and then a second story ADU build here in Kitchener. You can do small, 550 square foot ones for a rental unit or for your kids. They're building all types of ADUs. So if you guys want to see what one looks like, you guys want to have an idea of what the build quality is, what the sizes are, you have questions about what you can build on your property, we're doing an open house 2 days in September. Email me or DM me on social media for the details, or go over and follow King Street Construction on Instagram. They're going to be sharing more on that. This is like a completely free way to get inside what these actually are. ADUs, Adam, for those that are new here, additional dwelling unit. These are tiny homes, but they're not actually tiny. Like, these are full detached bungalows in your backyard, guys. So if you guys have questions about ADUs, you guys want to learn about events that we're hosting or we're getting involved with, Investor Hot List is the best way. Directly send me an email. We'll get you on top of all that stuff. But for today's video, we're going to go with Waterloo region data first. We're going to talk selling in what is not a seller's market anymore. and then we'll go over the types of deals that I'm personally looking at for clients and myself, where we're kind of seeing value in our local market, because the market is kind of weird. I'll be honest, Adam. We got a weird market on our hands right now. So we're going to go high level data, Adam. This is as of the 1st of September. We're recording this probably the second week of September, though, guys. So the data isn't reconciled. It's going to be pretty much close to this, though, but maybe not exact. I've said it before, Adam. After COVID, we had this weird kind of market where we weren't following seasonal trends, which were slow ass, kind of winter. That's where, us investors, me and you and our people are picking up all our deals. People trying to offload stuff in a slow part of the market. Okay. Market picks back up for the spring. You have all-time highs in terms of number of homes sold, average price points, list to sale price ratios, days on market. Those are all, kind of as best as they're going to be on average in the spring. And then this little dip in the summer, right? Prices will typically come down a little bit. Inventory comes down a little bit. People who aren't going to sell in the summer will pull their house and be like, all right, we'll try again next year. Or, people that are getting the kids or finishing vacations, getting the kids to school, they'll decide, all right, let's list in September, October, then we could close and sell before the winter really hits. So inventory actually dipped in August. Hello. Sellers are like, nice, less competition. Don't worry, it'll keep coming back. Sales volume, 506 total properties sold on market in August of 2025. Like, we have over 630,000 people that live here. If you were somebody that did a purchase or a sale, or you invested, sold your property, you're one of 506 people that actually did something that month. Like, in perspective of how many that is for a year, like, just understand the size of the market of things, people that are actually buying and selling in comparison to the size of our overall market. The reason I wanted to bring that up was, yes, we have 7% less volume of transactions in August this year compared to last year. That's a pretty significant number, but not like, oh my God, shocking. I think what is more important to watch, Adam, is the overall decline in activity over the last 3 years compared to how our population has grown. So we have more people living here, more properties here, but significantly less people doing business. And the one thing that I kind of take from that is people are waiting to see what the heck is actually going to happen before they make a decision. There's a lot of unknowns in our local economy, in the Canadian and Ontario economy, in the global trade kind of disputes that the US have started. And there's a lot of people that are more uneasy about their job, if they're going to keep it, if they're going to get a raise. So I think there's so many people that are just sitting on the sidelines because the market doesn't know which way the market is really going to go in the medium term. And that's just causing a lot of people to just say, hey, I don't know the game I'm playing. So until I know that with more certainty, I'm just going to sit tight. And that we're seeing that across the board, just less volume of business, mortgage brokers, construction, real estate sales, like everything is just kind of, it's taken that breath and it's really showing in the data more consistently for the last 12 months. I think it's just really important to reflect on where you guys really are in the market. If you're going to go buy a home, sell a home, or you're an investor looking to make some moves in your portfolio. And then finally, this is the classic one you always get, is the realtor, the guy that, your neighbors and your friends know is investing in real estate all the time. So, oh, what are prices doing? What are prices like? That's kind of like people's benchmark for how good or bad a market is, which is shallow thinking, but also really important to gauge. We're down 40 grand on average. Your average property, residential property, condos, all the way up to your mansions, your average price for those that are selling and transacting, 731,000. Last year, you were 40K higher. You were 770. So our market's taking a nice little chunk, right? You're down 40K in a year on average. That doesn't mean every property is down 40K, but this is just a quick snapshot to say there's less properties being moved, there's more properties on the market, and prices, are generally speaking down across the board, some more than others, right? So what I'll do now is we're actually just going to hit a quick pause. The editors will take care of this. We're going to just snap over to our market info. So our real estate app has really cool feature that has, live data. So I can go through, August 25 for this data set compared to the 24, 23, even last month. So let's tab over there and we're going to go over some segments that I think offer superior opportunity for buyers that are willing to actually throw in some offers and do some shopping. So let's get over to there right now, guys. So as you guys can see in the top corner, right underneath the big info sparks, it says Waterloo region. So just to preface this, this is all residential properties that are sold on MLS in Waterloo region. So that's Kitchener, Waterloo, Cambridge, and then the small little hamlets, right? Now, Kitchener's the biggest market in there, then Waterloo, then Cambridge are kind of like right there. So Kitchener more heavily influences broad regional data, just to kind of preface this, if you guys are chiming in and you're not really familiar with Waterloo region. What we have on our screen here is average price, sales price for property type. Over the last 3 years. You got 22, 23, 24, 25, right? So condos are down at the bottom. They're the cheapest, 434,000. Then you got your townhomes at 596. You got your semis at 618. And then your single family homes at the 848. So some interesting things to consider. And this is stuff that if I'm not familiar with, this is stuff that I'll look up when a client comes to me and says, hey, I want to look for a 40-year-old bungalow that's less than 1,500 square feet to convert into a triplex or a duplex. Okay, I know that market like the back of my hand. But if I didn't, one thing I would do is I would go to the single family homes. I would go for the square footage of that type of property. And I would look at what's the cost per square foot, what's the months of inventory, and what's the spicy ratio. That would tell me, okay, average price per square foot, which would indicate average sale price to give you guys a benchmark. If I'm looking at days on market as well, that would also kind of give me a pulse check on, are these types of properties selling quicker or slower than the average detached home? And then I would look at months of inventory. And months of inventory would reveal, okay, that would not just say here's how many homes are available. They would say how many homes are available in addition to how many people are buying these homes. So how long would it take for that part of the market to sell out? And is the month of inventory for that particular market segment higher or lower than the average? Because there's some market segments that are in strong sellers markets where the average market is in a strong buyer's market right now. So
Yep.
this could give you guys, and listen, obviously I do real estate sales. I work primarily with investors. I work with a lot of people for their primary homes as well, because a lot of our clients that invest in real estate also have their own homes. So if you are trying to make a move for your own primary residence, this type of data is golden, because the investor side, the investment properties, multi-unit, it's just so much more fragmented, Adam. And they just don't have data sets like this that I would even trust to do that without doing your own hard, digging for data. So here's what I was thinking. A lot of people right now are kind of stuck on the sidelines, but a lot of my clients, they're typically between 30 and 50 years old. And they're, considering either a relocation for school, for work, or for family, or they're considering an upsize for more features and more property to suit their growing family or their own personal needs, working from home, hobbies, kids, whatever. So you could probably think of it, Adam, because you're, more or less in the business, right? But where do you think you would find the best value and the least competition for a single family home in any market? You got to think about age, you got to think about size, and you got to think about how many of them are actually available in terms of inventory.
Yep.
And some of you, if you guys are like thinking about this, well, I don't know, well, you're making dinner, or, you put the kids to bed and you're watching YouTube videos like me. I just go down the YouTube rabbit hole more often than not when I'm researching stuff, either cooking, golf, or real estate right now. My feed is just insane with that. But I'm going to go, I don't need to look at different market segments. I want to look at
Yep.
single family homes. I want to go by size, and I want to go price per square foot, because price per square foot is a better representation of how much you're getting for the size of home. And
Sure.
there's going to be less variance in price per square foot for a range as opposed to price per square foot for an entire category of property. Like straight up, price per square foot is going to be highest in condos. Small square space, right? Like you're just not going to get as
Yep.
much. But here we go, guys. See this yellow line at the bottom? That's your 2,500 square feet properties and up. These are what we would call the big boys, right? This is your 4-bedroom, 2-car garage. These are big homes. Now, these will always be the cheapest per square foot, because it's typically one lot, one foundation, but then a lot of square footage on top of that foundation. Where you get
Yep.
into more expensive costs are, one foundation, small square footage, generally speaking. But let's go, you go townhouse or semi-detached. It's, two foundations on more or less one lot, and then a small square footage. So you can get pretty good bang for your buck there. But right here in the 2,500 square feet or more, you are 330 bucks a square foot just to purchase, right? Well, that has experienced the least decrease year over year, whereas your 1,500 square feet or less, that's down 6.3% in the last year. And same with the other categories, around 5%. Now, if we go in conjuncture with, let's say, month supply, which one of these categories, 1,500 square feet or less, 15 to 2,000, 2,000, 2,500, or 2,500 plus square feet, would have the most inventory? Starter home, intermediate homes, or mansions? Which one would have the most inventory in our market right now?
I would think the mansions have the most inventory, but I might just be wrong.
And is that because it has a very low supply, or because there's nobody that wants to buy homes that are like over 1.5?
Um, I guess it would, in my opinion, probably be from a relatively low supply.
So you go cheapest price per square foot has almost double the supply
Yeah.
that the other categories for single family homes have. So not only do I get the cheapest price per square foot, I have the most inventory, which means least competition to go against. And then you also look at percentage of original list price, your spicy ratio. It has the lowest spicy ratio because there's more inventory and less buyers fighting for that inventory. So there's more room to negotiate. So, like, you buyers out there, you homeowners out there, if you're in a position to make an upsize that makes sense for you, that's what you want to do, or you're an investor and you're thinking, man, maybe I could pick up a larger home and flip it or chop it up into a legal fourplex, or like especially downtown, older homes in downtown and midtown. There's incredible value for larger square footage homes that don't have a lot of buyers knocking on the door. And this is just one silly example. Like, you could look at the townhouse market segment, you go to the condo market segment, you can look at, those would be the ones that I would kind of focus on. But specifically for single family homes, narrowing in on what has high inventory, low cost per square foot, and low list to sale price ratios just says there's least competition there, which is there's likely more room for those to come down in price or for you to get better terms or just more selection so you can shop for longer or in more detail and just buy a better buy. So this type of thing, if you investors or you homeowners that are looking to make a list and a sale and make a purchase, whether it's an upsize or relocate, this type of data can really kind of prep you for what to expect and can also help bridge the gap between the buyers and the sellers right now. And that's the biggest complaint I've been getting from a lot of our clients is just sellers or buyers just being unreasonable. And that's because on this channel, we've talked about it, Adam, the gap between what a buyer's expectation and a seller's expectation is on average, whether it's a multi-unit property, a duplex, apartment building, or a condo, that gap is bigger than it has been in quite some time because sellers were not ready to relinquish as much negotiating power and price as quickly as they've had to in order to make a sale. So going through this data is super powerful. That's one silly example. If you guys have specific examples you want, hit me in the comments or send me an email. If you're looking at a specific neighborhood or market segment, going deep on this for even 30 to 60 minutes will help put your idea and your belief of what the market is into much more accurate perspective and perception to help you just make a better decision quicker. And that's what I've been trying to help a lot of people with is the idea you have in your brain and what financially makes sense for you, how quickly can you determine if that's logically going to happen in our current market conditions? And the reason that's important is just our market conditions have just changed so dramatically in the last probably about 16 to 18 months that getting people on board with the reality of our market as quickly as possible is such a important way to start a relationship or a real estate conversation right now. So I'll leave it open to the comments now. If people have specific ones they want me to throw out there, let's jump over to the rest of the presentation. I got a couple so whats. That's one of my favorite bits here on the Canadian Real Estate
Yeah.
channel. I think super important to just kind of get down to really what's happening. So let's pop that open here right now, and
I
we'll
do
get
love that
cooking.
InfoSparks tool though. It's so useful to be able to compare various metrics at the same time to
Yeah.
actually get a picture of like, okay, what is this particular segment doing compared to the rest of the market, and just making sure that we're focused and focusing our research on the relevant information, right? Because there's a ton of irrelevant information there if
Oh my
you're,
God.
especially if you have a diverse investing strategy. Like if you're, if you're not if you don't care about condos, you shouldn't like have the price of condos influencing your opinion on a market. Like, it's so great
Not
to
not
dive
not
deep on
directly.
that. Yeah.
It's like a good to have, but like, am I really going to consider that as a top 10 variable in my decision making process?
Yep.
No. But
Exactly.
I think it's just really key to go deep on your specific segment, right? And a lot of, and honestly, a lot more of business going on is either big investors or homeowners. There's not a lot of the middle, there's not a lot of small to medium sized guys like me who are consistently doing a ton of deals over the last kind of 10 years, really keep going. Those kind of investors, the missing middle is kind of the key term that's been thrown around a lot. A lot of those players have really been like, whoa, maybe I'm a little over leveraged. Maybe cash flow's drying up. Maybe renter pool's getting a little more rocky. Yeah, I'm tapped out here. Why don't I just wait to see if the market comes back? And I think it's also a lot of first time or newer investors really holding the reins tight right now, saying, I'm not quite sure if I'm ready to jump in. And I don't blame them.
Yep.
But going deep on your market segment, understanding it is like super, super important. Listen, I've been in the business for a decade now. This stuff I look at a lot because I hold real estate in Waterloo region, and Matt and I work with 50 to 60 clients a year, helping them buy and sell homes or investment properties. So like, this is all we do. So feel free to reach out if you have specific ones to reach or to look into, guys.
Yep.
But I mean, if you're an investor and you're not looking at the data, or your agent's not looking at the data for you, here's
Also,
a reminder to do that.
Also, do just want to say, like, it does sound a little doom and gloomy when we're like, average price is down 40K, or, even like there's not a lot of business happening. But I also did just rent out a commercial unit with like no effort at a fantastic market rate. And like, my buildings are full, and every time they turn over, they're full immediately. So it's like, I don't want people to feel jaded either. Like, just because the market has less activity doesn't mean there's not activity, right? It just means that some of the lower options, the lower priority choices, are just getting left alone for longer, right? So if you are an investor and you're doing the right things, you have a great marketing strategy, you're adding strategic value wherever you can to your units. People want those units. People still need a place to live, and businesses are still operating. Like, this commercial unit went like that at a fantastic rate. They actually offered me more than what I wanted. And I was like, hell yeah, let's go. Business is on. So
It's
it's not
it's
all
a
doom and
friendly
gloom.
reminder. We've had it. I had it on, I think, for probably a couple months in a row at the beginning of this year. Friendly reminder, every market has cycles, right? This doesn't mean that
Yeah.
there's no opportunity in part of the down cycle, ladies and gentlemen. The opportunity does not always lie at the peak of the cycle, right? So it is not all doom and gloom. I think I had this conversation with a business partner of mine and a client yesterday. Actually, was like, oh, you know, how do we really feel about the Canadian economy long term? Because I invest in equities as well. I have a portfolio, a stock portfolio, and I think the general consensus, at least with the couple of people I was talking with, were we're going to continue to follow the U.S. to the grave one way or another. So we're going to get some trade deals done. The only big tool we really have, and we'll talk about it in point 3 right here, is interest rates. An interest rate environment is much more predictable than employment and inflation typically. So now that inflation's relatively under control, employment's, kind of getting as bad as it's probably going to get, give or take. Okay, interest rates will have a direct impact on the broader economy and real estate. And the IMF actually just released a report in July, I believe it was, about the Canadian economy, and we're highly leveraged household debt, but we have pretty good stability, and we're going to start hopefully fingers crossed, they start decelerating how quickly our household debt levels are actually increasing, right? Which would mean larger down payments or fixed term loans, or incentives for lenders, incentives for investors, incentives for financial institutions to kind of breathe more life into business development and eventually real estate. But they need to kind of get some more jobs in here and actually pay people some good money so they can afford how expensive shit is. But different conversation. The the so what? The so what segment. Adam, Zach, so what? All this data, all these numbers, what does it actually mean for Waterloo region real estate? Number one, the perception is still that the short-term prospects are not going to improve. That's why there's a lot of people kind of holding their cards close, a lot of people staying out of the market, a lot of people just being like, I'm not going to do business in this market. It doesn't make sense for me yet. I don't know which way it's going to go. So the general perception is that the short term is going to be the same or worse, right? Now, we're still in a down cycle, guys. That makes a ton of sense. Long term, though, A lot of big money is still going forward with a lot of projects. They're building a lot more purpose-built rentals. There's a lot of portfolios that are being exchanged off market by large trusts, large REITs, large private real estate holders. Like the big business is still going, and that ties into number 4, the long-term trends will still continue. Big F's small. Anybody ever watch Peaky Blinders? There's a really good line there when I think the Changrettas are buying his, or trying to force him out of the business, and he reminds them, yeah, well, I just reached out to somebody bigger than you, and they kills him. Same kind of thing happens in business. The big guys who aren't over leveraged, they're picking up all the pieces from the medium and the smaller guys because they can buy them cheaper than they could a couple years ago, right? And they're not over leveraged, or they have access to capital, they have access to cash. The way the Western economy is set up, it is working exactly like it should. Bigger is kind of gobbling up more market share especially during downturns, right?
Yeah.
So affordability will decrease long term, and renting will increase long term in terms of popularity and the share of the market. Now, number 2, data influences the market, but it takes time. We are now finally starting to see the last year or two of data really reflect on level of inventory, price points, days to sell, list to sale price ratios. Those are all more accurately reflected in the current data right now than they were probably last year, because a lot of people that, no, I don't want to sell for that price, and like, ah, crap, I do need to sell for that price. Those have happened a little bit more now. So that data more accurately reflects what exactly would be happening in August or in September or in October of this year. So to cap that off, Adam, number 3, the interest rates are going to have the largest direct impact on activity in real estate, especially in Waterloo region. Waterloo region is still considered a growth economy in terms of Southern Ontario. We're 620, 630,000 people. We're an hour away from pretty much anything in Toronto. We're investing heavily in rail infrastructure locally and also GO and VIA. We're also heavily invested in our airport. We're heavily invested in tech. We're heavily invested in education. These are all things to promote, create, and retain employment and talent. And the quality of living in Waterloo region, I am heavily biased. This has been my home for about 30 years. The quality of living is actually pretty good, right? It's, turning into a city, so it's a little bit busier, but you got at least a few of pretty much everything you need, and you can get anywhere in the city in 20 minutes. So I don't hate that. That's kind of the so what segment, guys. I think we want to get more specific with the so what's. So, if we're going to be looking at specific types of deals or specific market segments moving forward, I'm going to try and tailor it to that. Or if there's new economic data that comes out that I think will directly impact Waterloo region, we'll kind of focus on that. But the next bit, Adam, is specific to those of you for selling. The so what and the data segment is a really good reflection of kind of the market as a whole. But more specifically for you sellers out there, I've had a lot of calls for people wanting to sell properties, and because I am a brutally honest individual, I've been crushing dreams. People, oh, can I get $1 million for this? No, you can get 800 if you're
Yeah.
lucky, right? Because there's a lot of people that want to sell if they can get a specific price at them, and deep down they know their price probably isn't realistic, but I'm not in the business of telling people what they want to hear. I'm in the business
Yeah.
of telling people, data backed, decisions and suggestions. So selling. Properties still sell really well. People think condos don't sell. Ladies and gentlemen, I am 4 for 5 on condo sales this year. And the only reason I'm not 5 for 5 is because we decided to lease the condo instead of sell it. So I'm 4 for 4 on sales, right? That's because we market well, we price well, we have a specific target buyer, and we know the types of agents that work with that buyer, and we market aggressively to those types of people. So they choose ours instead of the other 20 that are somewhat comparable, right? So I think the first point, and I would appreciate some comments on this, is consider buyer perception and price accordingly. If the buyer perception, Adam, is I'm going to get this deal or better in a month or 2 months from now, then everything matters. If you want to, I'm talking like if you want quick sale, best price for your type of property, then you have to consider that the buyer is assuming they're going to get your property cheaper next month than this month. And so
Yeah.
they need to think that I'm getting a great deal now. And that means every little bit matters. Now, listen, before you even kind of give me your 2 cents on that, is if you are selling a piece of junk and you want to sell it at a piece of junk price, all right, scuffs on the wall, everything, you're priced accordingly, right? This is for you buyers and sellers, and specifically investors out there that are like, I want $1 million for this property. Comparables are selling at 800. why in God's green earth is somebody going to give you an extra 200K? Do you have that much more in income? Do you have that much more in potential income? Do you have that much more opportunity? Is it that cleaner? Is it that better location? Like, if you want premium above and beyond what the market is telling you you're likely going to get, you need to give them a reason why. So if buyers are considering the market is going to be the same or softer in the short term, Adam, like what would be some things that would highlight a seller being like, hey, we've really got to pay attention to this?
Yeah. And you know what? A lot of these things are really cheap to do. Paint. Come on, man. Paint. It's so cheap. If you do it yourself, it's literally almost no cost. If you pay somebody else to do it, very low cost still for the value that it adds. Lighting is so simple too. I think a lot of people overlook this. Man, Amazon these days, you can get fantastic lighting that you can install yourself, and it takes no time. It's virtually free, and for the value that it adds. And another thing, like I actually think like I'm really happy you included smell there, because smell-o-vision is wild. I mean, something looks great on the internet, and then a buyer comes to walk through it and it smells terrible, it's gross, it's dirty in there.
Doesn't matter. You're done.
Nothing will turn somebody off faster than that. And guys, I shot a video recently with Adora Fernandez, and she's got a company called Clean AF. And it's a really cool company. All they do is they come and prep your property either for Airbnb or for listing, right? And so they come and they do this deep clean. It costs almost nothing. I mean, seriously, it costs virtually nothing to get your property super clean, better than you'll ever do it. Pay somebody to do it. It's like $1,000 for like the deepest scrub you'll ever get on a property. And it adds infinitely more value than what it costs. In terms of perception. And perception ultimately is reality, right? How people feel about your
100%.
property is how they will act about it.
100%. Yeah.
Every time.
And you know what? The number two there, I've only had probably about 5 clients take me up on this, is if I'm at a property and they're either having a hard time, figuring out or agreeing or coming to terms with what, the best strategy or the price is, I'll just say, listen, I do this for a living. I've already gone out and previewed the 6 other listings that are direct competition to yours. So like, I've seen them. I know that yours is better here and worse here. So you take my word for it, because I'm doing the work for you, or come with me. I will take you through the 3 to 5 comparable listings that are other buyers are going to look at and compare yours to if they book a showing on yours. You need to give them a reason to buy yours and not those 5 other ones. Do you want to take my word for it, or do you want to do it yourself? Recon actually works. Like, and this is easier for me because I'm in the business. Like, I jet out and see properties all the time.
Sure.
All the time. If I have a buyer that I'm like, this one's kind of a good fit for these reasons, but these other reasons might be total deal breakers, sometimes I won't even text them. I'll just go out and see it. And then I'll send them a message, hey, saw this one come up, thought about you. I don't think it's a good fit for this reason. Or you know what? The media on this one sucks. It's actually way better than you think. Let's go take a peek at it. We might actually be able to sneak a deal. So viewing the competition critically, like seeing is believing, right? Even clients, personal friends, family, like I'm sure most of them inherently trust me, but they're taking my word for it.
Yeah.
Right? Seeing it, smelling it for yourself, total different ball game. And so the actual recon work, like do not undervalue that. If you're humming and hawing about a deal and you're not, or you're thinking about you're going to make a move or you're going to sell something, you're going to buy something, like guys, that's a big decision to make.
Yep.
You would be amazed at how quickly you will understand the market for what you want to do by just going out and looking at 5 properties that are similar to what you want to do. It's crazy how much perspective that'll give you. Okay. And then seeing what they sell for or why they don't sell. You'll see one that sells and you're like, yeah, that makes sense. It smelled like shit. Or you see another one that sells and they got a little bit of a higher price. You're like, yeah, actually, I went through that one. It was like immaculate.
Clean.
Layout was actually
Yeah.
way better than it looked on the photos. That makes sense. So,
Yep.
I'll do that work for you. I already am. But if you guys want to see it for yourself, like that's not a terrible idea. And then lastly, most important variables, pricing, condition, and marketing. These are like the 3 kind of pillars of any, listing or sale is pricing. Market doesn't lie. If you want more than what the others are selling for, there better be a goddamn good reason, right? You're not special. I wish I was special. I'm not. Adam, I wish you were special. You're not. Like
Yep.
nobody cares. Any buyer coming through your property wants to cut it up and wants to get it the cheapest they can. Doesn't matter. That's straight up what a buyer wants right now. Condition. If you want 10 out of 10 price, you better have 10 out of 10 condition. Plain and simple. And if you're not willing to invest to bring it up to the 10 out of 10 condition, that's okay. I don't blame you. I'm typically not that type of person either. I'm
Yeah.
typically willing to say, what is the cheapest way I can get the best value? That's why I suggested things like getting rid of scuffs, getting rid of the smell, updating your lighting, getting it cleaned, a little bit of landscaping. These are like low cost, high value things. If you want to go above and beyond, we have people we can refer you to do that, but you have to be realistic about your condition compared to the other market. And then the marketing. I remember I stole a listing from a really famous realtor in the Burlington area. And their pitch to the seller was, we have this big marketing machine. That was their pitch. And I know that's how big agents pitch sellers, whether it's a multi-unit property or a mansion or your condo. Well, that doesn't always work. What works is think about who's going to buy your home. What do they do for work? Where do they live now? What type of agent do they work with? What's important to them about where they live? Do they have a budget to make decisions like I want to be in this good school zone, or I want to be in walking distance, or I want extra parking, or I need 10 out of 10 condition, or I need an ensuite? Like, can they afford those decisions? And then
Yep.
take it a step further. How do they actually find the property they want to buy? And how do they decide how they want to view it and how they want to offer on it? Okay, I take that, I take the 10 years of experience, and I take what's currently going on in the market, and I'm like, these are the 2 or 3 types of buyers. Here's the types of agents they work with, and here's how those people actually book showings, show the property, and bring offers. Those are
Yep.
who we're going to target. And our pricing, our condition, our marketing, and our listing, and how we prepare to negotiate a contract all have to be reflected in the way we're marketing that home. So if you're on the fence about how to sell a property, you want to pick my brain, whether you're in the business or you're considering selling a property of your own, send me a message, because like those things, they matter now. 4 or 5 years ago, they didn't matter as much because there was just no choice. Buyers had to buy a house. Now, that is going to be the difference whether you sell or not. Not what price you get, just whether you even can sell or not. So, got to have a little bit of thought behind the marketing. Now, quick hits. Quick hits. Just for investors. Do I sell? I have a duplex, a triplex. One of the units vacant. I'm going to get it cleaned up. Do I sell it vacant, or do I tenant it and then sell it? Because, I don't want to be carrying a property that's burning a month of rent, and investors may just want a good tenant with market rent already in there. The short answer is it depends.
Yep.
The short answer is it really does depend. Now, typically what I recommend is you probably do both at the same time. What I like to do is I will take, say we agree on price for listing and we agree on price for what you're going to get for the lease as well. Typically what I'll do is put the lease a little bit higher than what you're probably willing to take for a week or two while you have the property on the market. If you're getting a slightly above market rent, or you're getting market rent and you're getting an A+ tenant, take it.
Take it.
Take it.
Yep.
Take it. Right? You
100%.
don't, the
Especially,
worst, go ahead.
sorry, especially in a market that has any uncertainty going on, right?
Boom.
If I can
Boom.
provide you an A+ tenant at or above market rent, hell yeah. As a buyer, I'm like, yep, I want that tenant. That's fantastic.
Yeah, especially like you said, because there is more uncertainty. When we were in a
Yep.
market where prices and rents were increasing like crazy, I'd much rather take the vacancy, because then I know I'm going to be able to get a tenant in less than 30 days. But now rents have come down a little bit. The tenant pool has kind of gotten a little dirtier in terms of just the qualifications, the prices they're willing to pay, how kind of terms they're willing to negotiate, because they know they have options. Same with buyers in the pool. So typically listing it for lease and for sale at the same time is like a very viable option. If you get if you're more motivated to sell and you think it's going to increase your chances to sell it with a vacant unit, because the type of property is likely to be owner occupied or family occupied, or is going to be really easy to fill, and you want to sell, and you think a seller is going to want to fill their own units, commercial mixed use space, for example, like
Yep.
those are things that may be taken into consideration. But generally speaking, do both at the same time. If you're not getting nibbles on your lease after a couple of weeks, put it down to what a realistic price is, and then just screen for an A+ tenant while you try and sell it. Generally
Love that.
speaking, that's how you do it. Now, recon works. I don't need to double down on that. Run numbers. Buyers are. Don't bullshit yourself about the numbers. Buyers are going to look at your numbers. They're going to adjust because they think you're full of shit on some of them, and they're going to put in a little bit of margin of safety, and then they're going to give you the screw you tax. So adjust
Yep.
accordingly, ladies and gentlemen. If you want,
Which,
if
by
you
the
want to
way,
know
is
what those
probably at
exact numbers
least
are,
5%.
give or take, depends on how bold you are with your pricing, right? And then the three is for you investors out there: don't test the market. The market will kick you in the teeth right now. What I mean by that is If you think the top end sale price of your property is $1 million, don't price it at 1.1 to give yourself negotiating room. Don't do it. Nobody's going to come look at it. There is enough inventory and there's enough sellers that are going to and are currently becoming more motivated that they are willing to cut you down on price. And what that's going to do is your property is going to be over stigmatized. It's going to be sitting on the market for months longer than it should without even getting viewings, let alone offers. And you're going to be begging to get showings, let alone get an offer. And when you get an offer, you're going to have no leverage power because they're going to see that you've been on the market for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months, and they know you. Maybe you don't need to sell, but that would reflect in the offer that they are bringing and likely how they're going to negotiate the deal. If you have an A plus asset, that's going to get attention. Everything else, you got to give them a reason. Show above average value, show above average condition, show above average management, show above average quality of tenant, like something to give them a reason to look at yours, because the reality is there's more inventory than there are buyers for multi-unit and investment properties right now. There just is, right? So that'll kind of bring us to our last little segment, the house hack upgrade. Here's 3 deals, guys. The reason why I said house hack upgraded is because before you could do like a in-law suite or a potential duplex conversion or a live-in flip, right? But now, Adam, you can get sick deals. You could get a beautiful duplex in the 700s. You could live in it for 5 to 20% down, 50 to 180K. Listen, I'm not, or 160K. I'm not saying that like 160 grand or 50 grand is not a ton of money. That is a ton of money for most people. If you had 50 to 60 grand, you could buy a legal duplex in mint condition in a B or better neighborhood, and you could rent out the basement or live in the basement and rent out the top, and you will probably live for maybe $500 a month more than renting if you're renting a nice spot. Like, so for $500, your net result is I spend $500 a month more a month, but I have my own detached house that I can leverage to refinance to go buy a single family home in the future, or buy another multi-unit in the future, or sell and buy either in the future. Like,
Yep.
how people are going to move up in net worth, in financial freedom, and in real estate is different now than it is 20, 30, 40 years ago. You're not buying a starter home that you could live in forever anymore. You kind of got to go through steps. If you want that detached house with a garage and a finished basement and a private backyard in a nice neighborhood, very few people are going to be able to jump into that in their first or maybe even their second deal. So I want to give you guys like legitimate value in terms of like other ways to do it. I house hacked my first property, the Cat P house that I converted to a duplex. My wife and I lived there for 3 years, sold that one and bought more house than I know what to do with right now. Right. So you can build equity, you can control your living expenses, and you can kind of leverage that rental income to help you purchase the duplex or to help you purchase your next home. So many awesome things about this type of deal. And like duplexes, they've been getting crushed in terms of like what you can get now compared to a couple of years ago. So going bigger, I've talked about this before, and I want to try and keep the video a little bit shorter here. So I'm going to go through this quick, guys and girls. 12 plus multis are kind of the sweet spot we're seeing. That's where we're seeing not a lot of institutional money come and gobble up properties. And there are good opportunities to negotiate things, whether it's seller financing, flexible closing terms, favorable DD terms, due diligence terms. These are also where you're typically getting around 200 at a door. You're getting cap rates well into the 5s now. You can get some opportunities for CMHC lending with 5% down with these types of properties. Standard lending and bridge financing can still work on these without you shelling out millions of dollars for the larger deals or for developments. Like, you could take down a deal like this with less than $1 million liquid and not be financially strapped. And you could also just buy and hold something simple like this, right? They're so expensive to build, develop, and straight up, I think a lot of people that are thinking, oh, more rental housing is getting built, I'm going to start gobbling some of those up. All the stuff that's being built now has already been purchased. Like, no builder or developer is building a multi-unit being like, oh, maybe I'll sell it when I'm done. If they're selling it,
Yeah.
it's already sold. Like, the appetite for purpose-built multi-unit residential real estate in Canada is very attractive because it is such a stable asset. So even locally, internationally, and nationally across Canada, like, multifamily real estate in Canada, because of how our banking system and our financial system and the asset class is set up, is very attractive for big money. So I have no problem just buying a good deal now and holding on to it for 10 or 20 years. And a little bonus, if you have extra land, extra parking, extra storage, or if you're specifically in Waterloo region, if you're in a strategic growth area that's zoned, which is within about a kilometer proximity of any LRT stops, Sexy. I like that a lot. So a little nugget for those of you sticking around to the end of the video here. Lastly, this is what I'm working on. I purchased my big multi-unit last year. That was nice. I'm building some new stuff. So I bought a rough house right down the street from me. Actually backs onto the high school I went to. Um, Purchasing lots for infill projects between 6 to 10 units is actually kind of attractive right now. The way that you can finance them and the financing for the exit makes them pretty attractive. You can buy, smash down, build, tenant, and refinance, close off all your loans in probably about 2 years, because you don't have to go through any zoning changes. You can go through and just get your minor variances, apply for your permit, giddy up, away you go. If you're purchasing lots to build, you're between 400 and 600K, typically closer to 450 for something, and you can build 6 to 10 units on those lots. You typically want to be as close to 40 grand a unit for land cost. Some quick little notes too. There's a lot there's a lot of lots that you can build semi triplexes on, and those numbers are like pretty good. If you can get 4 units aside, even better. Lots that can do 10 units to maximize value, which would be lots that are big enough to build 10 units without any crazy minor variances or crazy design changes. You can still get a little bit of parking, but you're not buying a lot in an area that's zoned for higher density. Because if it's zoned for to allow higher density and you have a decent sized lot, you're almost leaving a little bit of money on the table by building something that's 6 to 10 units, if that makes sense. Um, and one quick little tip is buying lots in cash and then financing the construction. Right now, that kind of model is a little bit more attractive for this size of deal, because you're putting anywhere from 400 to 600 grand down to buy the lot. You can leverage that to help with your lending for the construction and the building of the actual, apartment that you're going to build, or the 10 units or the 6 units, whatever you're going to build. So I'll leave you guys with this. We're building a 10 unit close to in downtown Kitchener. We're likely going to be demoing it spring and starting the build in the spring. If people have questions on that, I'm going to be sharing more in the videos kind of leading up to the end of this year, as we have a little bit more certainty for dates, for costs, and stuff like that. But we're really involved with the ADUs. We're really, starting to get our foot into building purpose-built rentals as well. We think there's a huge opportunity with the types of financing that's available, and with the lack of great inventory for other options that are smaller than that, it's really tough for investors of our size to really get some good returns. But if investors are curious about how we're finding value, I think that's a big question I get right now. Is like, what are you guys even doing? Because the market isn't screaming, hey, these are the no lose deals. Send me an email. I like to be really transparent. I like to be very reachable to those of you that are watching the Canadian Real Estate Channel videos. And I think we're going to dive a little bit more into the building news section as we get a little bit closer to the new year. So stay tuned for the next video. But Adam, I'm starting to get a little excited because there's deals out there. We bought our first one. I'm looking at some more right now. I think there's a ton of opportunity in this space. So if you guys want to send me a direct message, or you want to get an investor hot list so you can stay up to date on our events, if we do site walkthroughs, if we're going to do meetups for it, now's your chance.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And it's always a great opportunity to get out and just actually ask the questions of people that are doing these things. Like, where did you get hung up? What were you successful with? What was easier than you thought? What was harder than you thought, right? What would you tell me if I wanted to go ahead and do this same project again next year? So I think it's a really great opportunity to get out there. And obviously, thank you, Zach, again, for making yourself available to the viewers here, because that type of information is so expensive to learn on your own and so easy to learn with an email.
Yeah, if I can save somebody a couple G's,
Yeah.
I feel like I've done that more than once or twice at my own
Yeah.
expense. But as somebody who's willing to put in the work and learn, it gives me more confidence to give people real advice. Because how are you supposed to tell somebody how to do something if you've never done it yourself? It's
Yep.
just, you got to feel it. And I know, and fortunately for me and our people, I live it every day, and this is still a lot of fun. I have a lot of opportunity to work with people coming through the Canadian Real Estate Channel. So I appreciate you guys checking out the video. We'll see you guys next month for another one.
All righty, guys. Well, we'll see you back here next month. Zach, thank you so much for sharing your insights on Waterloo region, and have a great day.